Shalom Aleichem. Happy Wednesday, everyone. One of the miracles that Moses performs in this week's Parsha, one of the signs or wonders, which is very interesting in and of itself because the Rambam is very clear that we don't establish the legitimacy of prophecy based upon miracles, meaning if someone says, I will make that pig fly, and then you should know that I'm a true prophet, and then he makes the pig fly, that's not halachically grounds to call that person a prophet at all. Walking on water, doing miracles, does not make you a prophet. What makes you a prophet is a different, other, legitimate halachic matter. But anyways, there are signs and wonders that Moses performs in Egypt. With the Pharaoh, the first one is he throws his staff down in this week's portion, and the staff becomes a tanin, it says. So if you watch the movie The Prince of Egypt, it turns into a snake. I think so. Some of the commentaries say it's a snake because I think the first time it turned into a snake. But the word tanin, if you actually look at the lecture of Rab Biton, who traces the word linguistically, it's very fascinating. Tanin really means a cold-blooded animal. That means an animal with a three-chambered heart, which means minus the septum. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, there's a piece of heart organic material that causes your three-chambered heart to become a four-chambered heart, and that's absent in reptiles, but present in birds and mammals. So what evolution biologists now understand is that the presence of the four-chambered heart in birds and in mammals is actually convergent evolution, not divergent evolution. In other words, what that means is that they evolved separately, independently, and coincidentally, but not moved off from the same ancestor, that one aspect of the four-chambered heart. So what's fascinating is if tanin means three-chambered heart or cold-blooded animal, not able to separate as well as mammals between oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood, then the verse all the way back in Breshit is fascinating, because what does the verse say? The verse says, Vayas et hataninim hagedolim. He made the big three-chambered heart animals, or the big reptiles. And obviously, with this present fresh translation, because if you look in Art Scroll, you look in King James, you look in any other translation, you won't find what I'm telling you right now. When it says that God made in Breshit, in Genesis, et hataninim hagedolim, the big reptile animals, the best translation is dinosaurs. God made the dinosaurs. So the question of where are the dinosaurs in the Bible? It's right there once you understand real biblical Hebrew. Finally, there's another point to make, which is the following. The age of the universe question is something that is fascinating. And what's more interesting than that is Professor Dr. Gerald Schroeder from MIT points out that before approximately 1950, all of science was basically in consensus that there was no necessary beginning of the universe. You couldn't prove it until the Hubble telescope, until the Big Bang theory came out. Until then, if you taught in university as a scientist that, and that was only about approximately 1950-ish, if you would have taught that there was a beginning to the universe, you could have lost tenure. Because why? Well, that's Bible speak. The Bible says there's a beginning. There's not necessarily a beginning from science perspective. So for thousands of years from the very first word, Bereshit, the Bible was wrong. Finally, science caught up to the Bible with the Hubble telescope, the quantum fluctuations, and the discovery of the Big Bang. Now we know the Bible, the universe has a beginning, and so therefore we have finally corroborated the first words of the Bible. Interestingly enough, and this is truly fascinating, it gets more fascinating than this, in the 1300s in Akko, there was a Rishon, a rabbi, who calculated the age of the universe based upon the verses of the Bible and Sefer Yetzirah and a Gemara in Sanhedrin. Sefer Yetzirah is a very, very old book. Some people say it goes all the way back to Abraham. Maybe not, maybe yes. It has very mystical, ancient things in there. Anyways, he uses the calculation, and Tehillim chapter 90 he uses, but he calculates in the year 1300, this is 700 years before the Big Bang and we realize that the universe had a beginning. based upon verses of the Bible, that the universe must be approximately 14.2 something billion years old. He uses Tehillim chapter 90, Psalms chapter 90, verse 4. He uses Sefer Yetzirah. It's an interesting calculation we can go through ourselves. It doesn't take that long. But the point is this. He had no ulterior motive. He didn't know about dinosaurs. He didn't know about the Big Bang. And he came to a number that is roughly the same as what is written on Wikipedia today, which is 13 point something billion plus or minus 20 million. I don't understand exactly how they get that number, but I can read it. So what's interesting is Torah Emet. The Torah is truth. Have a wonderful Shabbos. I'll see you next time.